Jungle pathing is literally the most important skill you need to know while playing the jungle, and sadly, it isn't very simple. Last time we talked about strong side and weak side pathing, which is the most basic jungle pathing technique used by basically all players in League of Legends. Even if it was basic, there was still a lot of information in that one video, and I recommend you watch that video before you watch this one, as we're going to continue talking about it. This concept is already fairly good for getting you into understanding how to jungle properly and efficiently, but that was only the tip of the iceberg. Now let's get further into the iceberg and talk about more concepts that kind of shift and mold how we change our path and how we clear. But before we get started, I am still offering free coaching VOD reviews for anyone that would like one. Any rank, any role, just go into the description of this video and add me on Discord so we can get one started for you. One thing that can be pretty hard to do when starting to play the jungle is picking a champion. There are a lot of champions in the jungle and they all have their strengths and weaknesses, with clearing, ganking, and invading. But thankfully, we can kind of put these champions into classes of what they excel at or what kind of restrictions they have because of who they are. Let's talk about these categories. Farming junglers, ganking junglers, and the mixed bag junglers. Farming junglers are champions that would rather clear their entire jungle before doing anything else, as they are heavily reliant on maybe hitting a certain level, or are not as good at ganking. Some champions that are like this are Fiddlesticks, Evelynn, and Karthus. All three of these champions scale really well and love consistent gold like their jungle camps. All of them, before level 6, are pretty terrible though. They rely on their ult a lot, which has its downsides, but also their upsides. Since they rely on their ults so much, their ults are heavily boosted in its power and are by far the strongest ults in the game. Evelynn's ult isn't really that strong, but when she hits level 6, she's completely invisible unless they have pink wards. Anyways, the downsides are that if they don't have their ult, it can be a pretty easy fight against them, which can allow the other jungler to steal camps, gank more, and take free objectives. The whole job of the farming jungler is to get their consistent gold to hopefully scale into the late game and win off their amazing teamfight capabilities and scaling. So how does this type of clearing work when playing a farming jungler? If we go back to our strong side and weak side path, we have some new rules for them. An easy rule is don't gank before level 6 unless you have some downtime and is guaranteed. For example, if we are playing Fiddlesticks and doing our first clear, once we finish that first clear and get our Scuttle Crab, we have some downtime until our camps respawn. If we have a gank opportunity somewhere, we can take it, but we need to realize that we aren't level 6 and have way less damage than other champions. This goes into a little bit of matchups and understanding if we can win versus a certain laner. We will go over matchups in the future, but for now, let's just say it looks guaranteed. We can go for the gank since it looks good and recall once we finish it, as our weak side camps should be respawning. Let's go back in time a little and say that the gank was not possible. We still have some downtime after clearing Scuttle, so what is the plan? One thing we can do is try to double Scuttle the enemy jungler. This means we go to the other Scuttle, and if they haven't taken it already or are too busy ganking somewhere, we can take it from them and do a pretty big blow to their gold and EXP. If it isn't up, oh well, we can just recall and continue our full clear again. We didn't talk about this much, but Scuttles are very good. They offer a bunch of EXP and gold to fast track our levels and items. It also offers a good point of vision, we have a great position on the map while taking it, and a speed boost if we walk through the taken Scuttle. Don't die for Scuttles though, as if we at least get one, it is okay to lose the second. This makes me want to talk about another scenario which can happen in about 50% of your games. We are a farming jungler and have just finished doing our first full clear. We are about to go to Scuttle, but we see that the enemy jungler is around. This means that they matched our path from bot to top and wanted the Scuttle. Again, this scenario is matchup based, but since we are a farming jungler, we can take into heavy consideration we will probably not win this fight. So let's give it up and move to the other Scuttle and take that one instead. These are just a few tips and rules we should follow so we can at least get through the early game, which is our main goal for these types of junglers. Now we have finally talked about this jungle class. Here are the champions from most farming to least farming junglers in this class. Karthus, Fiddlesticks, Shyvana, Evelynn, Master Yi, and Graves. Farming is cool and all, but I want to see some kills on our side. Alright, if you like killing so much, psycho, why don't you try Ganking Junglers? These junglers would love to have more opportunities to gank, and farm isn't really what they want. Farming is still a core part of jungling, but sometimes we can play certain characters that are just so good at ganking it can snowball. One thing you should know about these characters is that most of them don't have a great late game. They usually sacrifice late game power for better early game power, and that can be good, but also pretty bad. Ganks are the most important for these junglers, and if they can't do them or they fail, they will start falling behind. We'll talk more about countering of all these junglers, but that will be a little bit later. How do these junglers have more opportunities to gank, and how do their opportunities change? Let's go back to our strong side and weak side path to see how they can differ. Oh, actually, scratch that. Let's not do that. Let us just start with an empty map. The one cool part about these junglers is that strong side and weak side don't exist as much, or at least the rules for weak side are a little bit more relaxed. Any gank opportunity is a good one, as their ganks are really just that good. We can say that ganking on weak side is actually kind of okay, but it still needs to work a bit in our favor. Since our early game is so good, we can do some cheesy ganks that most people will not pay attention to unless you're versing challengers. Most of them have a good level 2 gank. Think of stuff like Jarvan, Nunu, and Vi. All of these characters just need 2 levels to get a pretty decent gank off. In order to do a level 2 gank, most people would start either red or blue depending on what level 2 gank you want to do and clear a second camp into the direction of the lane you want to gank. So if you want a level 2 gank top, we would get blue then Gromp. Level 2 gank top side ganking mid, we would take blue then Wolves. Level 2 gank bot side ganking mid, we take red then Raptors. And then level 2 ganking bots take red then Krugs. I doubt most junglers until Emerald will actually start punish you after you do this, but there is a counter to that punish as well. Again, we will talk about that a little bit later. For the most part, if we see a gank opportunity that looks good, we can go for them, but there is a catch to that. You are still a jungler, and junglers still need to farm. It is your job to find that fine line where you can get a certain amount of ganks off, but still be able to get your camps. Every game will be different, and you just need to play more games to get better at that. So, to recap, we have farming junglers and now ganking junglers. Ganking junglers have more opportunities to gank because of their amazing early game and lack of needing to farm. It comes with a drawback of having a worse late game, but as long as we use our great early game, we can maybe still win. Here are the champions for most ganking to least ganking in this class. Farming and ganking are both kind of extreme. One doesn't want to gank and the second wants to gank at every opportunity. I want something that is similar to the strong side and weak side path that we have been talking about. Well, you are in luck because the next class is all about it. The mixed bag class is exactly what it sounds like. These champions are good at being heavy farmers or heavy gankers, but they don't excel at either like the farming and ganking junglers. These champions all have a very unique playstyle and their path kind of morphs around that champion, but also still revolves around what decisions they make. Just follow the same rules for the strong side and weak side path that we talked about in the last video. Anyways, what are the champions in this class? These champions don't come in any particular order. So now we know the 3 classes, but what can we do to make these 2 classes have a miserable game, and how can we counter the enemies from letting them do that to us? Let's start off with farming junglers. So what is one simple thing that these junglers need? Farm. Their farm is really important to them, and thankfully most of these champions' early game and 1v1 capabilities are not that great. This gives ganking junglers and even any jungler an opportunity to invade more, as they know that in most cases, they will be able to kick you out of your own jungle. This can be a heavy blow on the farming junglers. If we just take all their camps on one side of the map, it is already really good, because if they didn't know you were doing that, you get 3 quadrants worth of gold and EXP. If you also get a kill, it's even better, but just don't wait around for it too long. This isn't even just for farming junglers. If you have a really good early game matchup, we can do this in a lot of other games, just because we have a good matchup. So what is even the point of playing a farming jungler if you can't even do that and fight back? Well, fighting back as a farming jungler is not as simple as fighting the enemy jungler. It is about avoiding them at all costs and keeping an eye out in your jungle with wards. For instance, we talked about how the enemy can invade us and take a whole side of our jungle away. Trying to fight him would be useless, unless you have backup, but we also don't even know when he could do this either. Here are some scenarios that can happen in the beginning of the game. You are starting bot side and want a path to the top side. you know that the jungle might invade you, so you want to put down a ward. You can place a 116 ward in this bush to spot if the enemy jungler will go for your camps, or this one for the other side. While we are clearing bot, if we don't see the Viego come into our jungle, then we know we can just continue our path. If we do see the Viego, we can counter him. Just like he's doing, we can invade his bot side. Why is this okay though? Isn't that kind of dangerous? You might think it is dangerous because you aren't on your team's side of the map, but the cool thing about jungle is that no one goes into the jungle except the two junglers. So we know if Viego isn't here, this is pretty safe already, but we should watch all the lanes near your invade, just to make sure nobody's coming towards us. What Viego is forcing to do is vertical clearing rather than horizontal. This could go on for the entire game or maybe just for this one rotation of camps. This all changes how the strong side and weak side works. These two junglers are relatively both strong for us, and for the other side, these two junglers are weak. We are basically never going to be topside for this type of clear, but now we will be hugging bot side. We don't really care to gank anyways, but it's a good piece of information all junglers should know when they are getting invaded and what they can do. There even is another option you can do if you think you can defend your jungle. This is a little riskier, but it might be a good option for the game. Once we spot them invading, we can drop our camps and head over straight to top. Once we find them, we kill them, giving us 300 gold and the rest of the camps they didn't take. The downside is you might have lost a camp or two and your jungle needs a hard reset. Your tempo is gone and we should farm the rest of our jungle. Every decision we have in the jungle has a drawback, but if we can juggle all the upsides and downsides well enough, we can absolutely dominate. There is one more scenario I want to talk about though that could happen. This actually happened in my game. We are right at the start of the game and we just finished clearing one of our weak side camps. We spot the enemy jungler coming towards us as we are finishing it. We obviously run away if we are a farming jungler and sprint towards their topside jungle to clear theirs. This might seem a little crazy, but if we think about all the info we have when we jungle, we can make a great decision. Just take a look at my game. Kindred came into my jungle when I was clearing my second camp and I had to run and flash away. Sucks to lose the flash, but at least I lived and got 2 camps. Now why is it okay for me to sprint to her bot camps? Well, pay attention to your scoreboard when this happens. If we hold tab and look at the scoreboard, we know she is level 2. That means she has at least taken 1 camp and it looks like it's her red. We can see if she cleared 2 camps if her jungle item is the same level as ours. This means there is 1 camp here and 1 or 2 camps in her top side. She needs to spend 3 camps worth of time clearing that, and even with some walking. That means we can spend some time walking towards their bot and stealing 1 to 2 camps back. She is spending her tempo here, and all we are doing is matching it. So now we know how to counter people just farming their jungle, but how about if the enemy isn't doing that and just ganking lane after lane after lane? We have one last scenario for this video that can happen in some games. If the enemy jungler is ganking bot side and we are bot side ourselves, cross-mapping is a little more challenging to do, but is still possible. Our first option is to counter gank the enemy. If we think we can win the 3v3, counter ganking might be a good option to stop the enemy jungler in their tracks. Another option is to gank a different lane, with the other lane being mid. This is like a little cross-map play where they are making an opportunity bot side and we are making an opportunity mid. The last option we have is to recall and watch what happens. The enemy jungler just used their tempo and we would like to know how much time they spent going for this gank. If the gank was short, we might have a little bit of time to take at least 1 camp from their top side. If the gank was pretty long, we have the option to take their entire top side. Again, the decision the enemy junglers make has drawbacks, and one drawback is we will have more time to do something else because they spent time bot side ganking. We have talked a lot about these classes, and you can already see how these classes create so many different scenarios and decisions that make the jungle that much more complicated. Just picking a certain champion creates new opportunities, and also the enemy picking a certain champion as well. Our decisions and their decisions have drawbacks, and we want to identify them and create a play during theirs or after. Jungle is a role where we constantly think about our next move and how the enemy jungler might switch our decision. You might think this is it, but the iceberg is a big one and we are just getting started. I said this in the last video, but I want to release this in parts so I can focus on releasing this stuff to you guys faster and also to boost the quality of all these videos. Once I do complete the whole iceberg, I will be making a master video for it. Thank you so much for watching part 2 of the jungle pathing Iceberg. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. It is completely free and you can always unsubscribe at any time. If you have any questions about jungle pathing, don't be afraid to leave a comment so I can answer it. I hope at least this information has benefited you a little into becoming a better jungler. Good luck on hitting your dream rank, and I will see you in the next part.